Hello! On this video, due to popular demand, I shall be making this Daphne puppet and showing you how. I will be using only materials found in the dollar store, and this will be a no sewing project. You can sew this puppet in parts if you want, but I am going to be teaching you ways to do it only with hot glue and a glue stick. For this project, you will need one 12 by 18 orange piece of felt, two 9 by 12 light purple pieces of felt, one 9 by 12 lime piece of felt, one 9 by 12 pink piece of felt, three 9 by 12 purple pieces of felt, three 9 by 12 beige pieces of felt, a plastic container from the dollar store, and a 5-inch foam sphere. You will also need a bread knife, a glue stick, a hot glue gun, a box cutter, tape, a spoon, scissors, and the pins are optional. You will also need this pattern, which you should be able to find linked in the description. Print it out over multiple pages and tape it together. Be sure to cut off the wide borders. Here I demonstrate how to transfer the pattern from the paper onto the felt. Simply cut it out with scissors, then place it down, trace it with a marker. If you're having trouble keeping it in place, use the pins here, and then cut out the felt.
This weird shape is the head and forehead area. There is a similar looking one for the chin. The trick with this is to not slice it into multiple different sections. Only cut up until the lines converge, and then don't cut any further. This is the mouth flap. It's made out of a hard plastic. I reuse bins from the dollar store because I find that they are the right strength while still being easy to cut. Cutting the outside is fine. Just use a pair of durable scissors and go slowly.
Cutting the inner hole is significantly more difficult. Use the box cutter here to make a small nick that you can use to start the scissors in. Please, for the love of God, be very careful, and if there's any children watching this, have your parents do this step. It could very easily cut you if you're not careful. Once you've got the hole started, just get the scissors in there and work them away. It'll take a little bit to get all of the material away, but it's not too difficult. We're going to make the puppet's head out of a 5-inch diameter foam ball from the dollar store. It has been made out of two different spheres, half spheres being formed together, leaving a line on the outside that we're going to follow. Using a bread knife, slowly cut on the outside, rotating the ball, keeping the knife along the line, so that you have a shallow score across the entire ball. Once you have that, you can cut a little bit deeper, about an inch or so deep. When you have cut that deep, you are now able to grab it with both hands and twist it apart. It's okay if you don't have a perfectly flat interior, because you're going to be hollowing out this ball later on. Okay, now take 1/2 of the sphere and cut that into 1/4 of a sphere. It does not need to be a perfect measurement, just eyeball it. Now, using a spoon, hollow out the 1/4 sphere and the 1/2 sphere. It does not need to be completely hollow, but you should have enough room to stick your thumb lying flat into the 1/4 sphere and your 4 fingers into the 1/2 sphere, like this. So to make the nose and the 2 hands is the same technique. Take the circle and then make an OK sign with your fingers, push it through, and stuff it with the extra pieces of beige felt that would be left over from cutting out the head piece. Then put some hot glue in the middle and crimp it with your fingers, holding it tight. Let that glue harden, and then add some more to tighten it up some more. In order to make the mouth flaps, we are going to use a glue stick, because hot glue would be lumpy and show through. Apply the glue to the plastic and press it into the felt. I do the 1/4 or the 1/2 circle first, and then the full circle.
But remember, with the full circle, to only apply the glue stick to half of the circle and press it into the mirrored position of where you put the other half circle. After the glue has dried, flip the mouth flaps so the plastic is on the outside and apply a dab of hot glue in the middle on the edge of the plastic and fold the felt over. Then, on the far corners, do the same. Keep working your way in, applying dabs of glue and folding the felt over so that you can keep constant tension. It's important to keep it symmetrical as you go so that it has a clean look to it. And then do it again on the other side of the mouth flap. Make the arms by taking the arm pieces of fabric and rolling them up, and then apply a dab of glue on the end to keep it together. I recommend not doing it quite as tightly as I did because that will give Daphne's arms a bit of a skinny look. Then pull the fabric slightly from the tip to get one side a cone shape and the other side a hollow indented look. On the hollow indented area, apply another dab of glue and then squish it together as tightly as possible. To make the cuffs more neat, fold the edges over and then glue them down to make them nice and tight. To make the arm, first glue the hand nub to the pointy end of the rolled up arm, then wrap the purple cuff around it, starting in the middle and then working your way out. Make the headband and the dress lines by folding the edges over and gluing them, much like you did with the cuff. Then do the same with the scarf. Worth noting, I made this short enough so it will fit on the smaller size of felt. If you want to spend a little bit more and get a larger piece of felt, you should make this piece 38 inches long, but it's not really necessary since that part of the head's going to be covered. Glue the pieces of scarf in place, making sure to have them slightly offset from each other so they'll match Daphne's look. To make the dress, take the two dark purple pieces of fabric and put them beside each other so that the straight edges are lined up with each other and tape them together. Then, take a scrap piece of felt, preferably purple, and glue that in place to make a sort of hinge holding them together. Flip over the dress, then glue the light purple lines in place. After that, take another scrap of dark purple fabric and use that to glue the other side of the dress together. I apologize that this part is not entirely well shot, it's a little bit finicky, but what you're going to do is take the corner of the forehead piece of fabric and glue it very lightly to the edge of the half sphere. You're going to do this with the other side too. Line it up and tack it in place, only with a small piece of glue because you don't want too much glue around the edge. I used a spoon to make sure it was nice and thin. Make sure that it is fully hardened before you remove the spoon though. Then I adjust the height to make sure that it is evenly sticking out at all different places, and then tack it again in the middle. This is a little bit finicky, but what you're going to do is then fold the felt over itself and keep gluing it back in so that you have two layers of felt sticking up over the edge of the foam sphere. Now you're going to run some glue around the flat surface of the foam sphere and glue the lip flap in place. You are going to be gluing the full circle in place, the piece that has the little hole in the center. Be sure to press it tightly against the felt that has been stuck past there to make sure you get a nice clean fit.
I also had a little bit of extra plastic sticking out at the back, so I just trimmed that off. Use a glue stick and smear it across the entire sphere and smush the felt in against it. Again, we're using a glue stick here so that it fits smoothly. You're then going to want to do that with the chin, which has already been wrapped in fabric using the same technique you use on the forehead. We can now glue the nose into the middle of the face and then take this wide piece of fabric and then wrap that around the back of the head so it fits snugly and slowly glue it in place. We're using hot glue here because it's all going to be covered with hair, so it doesn't matter if it's a little lumpy. Then glue the flat edges of this piece of felt to the sides of the mouth. Poke out the holes for the thread in the buttons before placing the buttons in. Then I use pipe cleaners because they're stiff enough that I am able to stick them in with little problem. If you want to try to sew this, go ahead, but I personally don't want to fiddle around with a needle inside of this head. I also recommend using a dab of hot glue to keep the eyes in place. To attach the head to the body, you're going to want to put a dab of glue about halfway up the chin and then press the neck of the dress there. You're going to want to let that cool completely before moving along, and then putting another dab of glue on the edge of both sides of the chin and pressing the dress into those places to make sure that it stays consistent. After those two spots have cooled down, continue to apply glue on the inside of the dress to connect it firmly towards the face. If you wish to put a bead of glue on the outside, you can, because this area shall be covered with the scarf. Then go to the back and line up the dress with where you want it to sit, and then draw a line with some sort of marker along the top of the dress to show where you can put the glue. Pull the dress down, then apply the glue to this line or slightly under it. Bring the dress back up and press it into there. Keep working the dress tighter against the face and applying more glue along the neck in order to get a nice strong fit. Again, feel free to have some glue on the outside because this area will be covered, but try to keep most of the glue on the inside to make everything look nice and tidy. Now, in order to put on the scarf, it's pretty standard procedure at this point. Start by applying glue in the middle, press it down to where you want it to go, then work glue along the rest of the span of this scarf, pressing it into the area on the puppet as you go. To glue in the arms, simply apply a dab of glue and then press them firmly against the body. You want to keep pressure constantly until the glue is completely hardened. Of course you can sew this part if you want, but I have tried to make this tutorial as low skill as possible, so everything is done with hot glue. Then you apply the hair. Both of the hair pieces are purposely oversized to allow you to customize the hair and cut it to a shape that you like. Apply the rounded part of the larger piece of the hair so that it meets up with the middle of the head, and then bring it down. Then on the back, cut along the middle of the hair up to near the top of the head and glue these two pieces of hair together. This will allow the piece of fabric to wrap around the body in a more natural way. Apply the smaller piece of hair so it meets up with the other ends of the hair piece, and then trim it down to a size you want. Then glue down the final edges of the hair so it meets up firmly with the other piece. Then you can glue the scarf in. Again, start in the middle, work your way out. Keep tension consistent. And there you go. You should now have your very own Daphne puppet.